This is the story of my ECV. I am currently 40 weeks and 3 days. Oh yeah, we're past the due. ECV, external cephalic version. For those of you that don't know, an ECV is when the doctor uses their hands and they flip your baby over from the outside if they're breech. Baby was breech. Now, not to hate on my doctors or anything, but at 35 weeks, I was wondering, how come we haven't done an ultrasound since 20 weeks? And then at 38 weeks, I was like, okay, hey, it's been a long time since we've done an ultrasound. We should, maybe look at the baby, you know? We're getting kind of close. Does she have, a third leg at this point? And they looked at her, and they had this face while they're looking at her, and I'm like, did she grow a third leg? And the doctor's like, no, but she's breech. So, of course, right away, they put together a whole plan. They're like, we gotta do this, and we gotta do that, and we may have to schedule induction and C-section and blah-de-blah, blah, blah. But the first thing we want to try and do is an ECV. Okay, what does that entail? You're gonna, pop some forceps up there? What's the plan? No, we're just gonna try and flip her over. Usually, it's like a 50-50 chance that it works, and that chance goes up if you take an epidural. They're gonna flip your baby over from the outside. You really don't want to be tight and uncomfortable and squirming around when they're flipping your baby over inside your uterus from the outside. So they give you an epidural. They also give you a shot in your thigh of something that starts with a T that I don't remember. And it loosens up your uterus so that they can work and mold it better. And my whole pregnancy, the plan has been to give birth naturally. I don't want a catheter in my spine. I really don't want Pitocin. I would like minimal intervention. So when they tell me that for success rates to go up, I should really get an epidural, which is not the catheter version of an epidural. It's just a big needle they're going to stick in my spine, give me a shot, and get everything to loosen up and be really, really numb. I said, no, I'm not doing that. But it's not going to feel good. It's going to hurt. I'm like, yeah, I would imagine it probably will. Flash forward to the actual day of the procedure, which was 3 days after they found her breech, because we're at 38 weeks and they really need to get her flipped over, because once you hit 37 weeks, ECVs start going down in terms of success rates. And I'm going to do it at 38 weeks with no medication. It's all very exclusive. You don't know when you're supposed to be at OB and triage until they give you the secret message in your inbox 13 hours, 24 hours before whatever it is to let you know when to show up. And you have to have specific visitor's pass and your photo taken, and you can't be on the floor if you don't have your credentials, and etc. blah. 8 p.m. rolls around. I still haven't gotten a message, and I was told by my doctor the earliest they'll ask me to come in is 7 a.m. I'm like, in 12 hours, am I supposed to be there? 9 p.m., this is ridiculous. I call triage. I don't like bothering triage, especially because with my last baby and losing him, I feel like I call triage a lot over the littlest stuff. I really kind of needed to know, can I go to bed so I can be up early, or can I hang out and watch a movie and eat popcorn? What's going on? They put me on a hold, and then they're like, okay, yeah, show up at 7 a.m. We live an hour and 15 minutes away from the hospital that we are doing all this work at. We're up at 5 in the morning. We get to the hospital. They put us in labor and delivery because ECVs can just so happen to cause spontaneous labor. On top of the fact that if the baby does not handle the procedure well and her heart rate goes down or spikes too high, they're going to want to put me in for a C-section right away. We're there, 7 a.m. on the dot, get checked in, we're in labor and delivery. Fantastic. Nurse gets me all hooked to the IVs and this and that, and takes my blood pressure and puts baby on the monitor. And before you know it, it's 9 a.m. Apparently, every room in labor and delivery is full that day. And the OR all 3 of them are full. Okay, sure, we'll wait. That's fine, I guess. Before you know it, it's 11 a.m. By this time, my husband and I decide to take a nap. We wake up, it's 1 p.m. So I ring my nurse. Look, I don't want to cause a problem, but do we have an idea of when we're going to get rolling? Because I haven't eaten since I'm not supposed to eat for a good 8 hours before my appointment. So I haven't eaten since 8 o'clock last night. It's now 1 p.m. the next day. I'm really hungry. I was here on time for my appointment. I understand you guys are busy today, but is there any idea on when we're gonna get started? And in my head, I'm like, this is an ECV. Apparently you're just gonna come in here, try and flip this baby over. It's either gonna work or it's not, and then you can get me out and you have an extra room to use. Somebody must have overheard me complaining to my husband when we were alone in the room, because it wasn't 15 minutes after I asked my nurse for like an estimate on how much longer this was gonna be that the director of obstetrics came in and did my procedure. Now, before the director of obstetrics came in, when we first got there, they had me talk to a doctor who was, it seemed like, gonna be the one who did my procedure, but she was like, in my opinion, she was a little cranky. I think she was really, really busy and just like didn't have a lot of time for me. And I had to speak with an anesthesiologist because in the case that I had to go in for a C-section, they needed to know what I wanted to do in that scenario. And also he wanted to get a verbal confirmation that I was declining the epidural shot for the ECV. I let him know that I have anxiety, like really, really incredibly diagnosed anxiety. Me and the epidural, we just don't get along, so if you plan on putting one in my back and having me be awake for a C-section and this and that, I don't think that's a good idea. Can you just like knock me out and I'll wake up and there'll be a baby hopefully and my husband can just handle stuff while I'm starfished? And the anesthesiologist is like, yeah, we can definitely do that. That if you feel more comfortable with that, we can make that happen. I said, yes, fantastic. So we've got a plan for what to do if this ECV goes south. We're not going to do the epidural in the back for the ECV. And now the director of obstetrics is in the room, along with, I believe they were 3 other actual doctors. Got in position pretty quick. I had the director on this side and a doctor on this side. And the director's using both hands to push this way, and the other doctor's using both hands to push this way. And boy, let me tell you, it's not uncommon for me to hear from people who are close to me that I have a high pain tolerance. Honey, get the shot. Still to this day, I would do it again unmedicated, but girl, you're gonna want the shot. That baby, that was a big baby they were trying to flip over in there. And her little bony fingers, the doctor and the director, they were just as hard as they could get them, just digging. Ooh, it hurt so bad. Now, the only reason I say get the shot is not because the pain was like, oh, you won't be able to sit through the pain. You'll be in so much pain. The pain is real, but the inability to sit still when someone's digging their fingertips as deep as they can into your abdomen, your pregnant uterus. That's why I recommend you get the shot. And that is why I would guess without the epidural, there are a lot of non-success stories for the procedure, because sitting still and staying loose and relaxed enough while they did that was a challenge. Imagine someone sticking their fingers in your rib cage and tickling you. You know, you're gonna squirm, you're gonna move, you're gonna get tight. You like can't do that. The amount of willpower to breathe through that procedure, stay incredibly still and loose the whole time. My husband, who has rheumatoid arthritis and can hardly, lift his arm up over his head, he's standing there next to me, he's being so supportive, is leaned over the bed because of how hard I'm squeezing and pulling on his hand. He was getting the brunt of it for sure. I dropped some profanities, I won't lie. essentially we tried 3 times. The first time it went on for almost a good 60 seconds. They tried to get her flipped and she was almost exactly head up, and they got her head to about right here. And it was intense, and she was neither fighting nor helping. And when I could feel that her head was about here, I asked if we could just take a break for a second. Just give me a minute. I took some breaths, tried to get nice and loose and relaxed again, and they went back at it. And that maybe lasted 45 seconds this time. They got her head to about right here. And again, I said, I need a break. We got to stop for a second. Now, I remember saying, let's try nitrous oxide, because I was starting to get really disappointed. You know, moving her head from here to here, to me, felt like it wasn't going to happen, and we weren't making any progress, and there was no way it was going to go from here to there. It just didn't seem realistic to me at the time, in the moment, with everything going on. I got in my head about my son and about losing him, and I was becoming really anxious and really afraid. And I remember asking for nitrous oxide because I thought, maybe if I can get my head a little clearer and stop being like mentally freaked out and anxious right now, we can get her all the way down. But my husband says that it was the nurse who recommended it. I remember being the one, but I was also in a tizzy, so I could be very, very wrong. Somebody brought in the nitrous oxide. I took one big drag off of it and was like, ugh, I hate that. My husband was like, well, just take another one. So I took another one, and I was like, please get this away from me. But I think it did kind of recheck me a little bit. After I had taken those 2 doses off nitrous oxide, I told them, I'm ready to try one more time. Let's do it. They switched sides. I don't know why, but it worked because I felt a little more clear in my head. I locked in, and it was about a minute that they were moving her. And at this point, I was completely silent. I was staring at the ceiling. I was just trying really hard to keep it together. Suddenly, my husband yells out, look at the screen, look at the screen. And I'm silent, not giving any of them any attention. And then they're all saying, look at the screen. And I'm not. I'm staring at the ceiling. I've got my teeth grit. I'm not looking at the screen. I don't care how close we are. Just do it. And they're like, you did it. And I look at the screen, and I have no idea what I'm looking at because my glasses are off, so I can't see past right here. And I'm just like kind of silent. Like, what? Are we done? Did it work? And I think my husband registered oh, she can't see the screen. And I remember he was like, baby, she flipped. And I just felt so relieved. I asked them right away, how's she doing? They said she hardly noticed. There was no spike. There was no drop. She just handled it great. After 30 minutes, they said she looks great. There's nothing happening. She seems just fine. She's staying where she's at. We'd like to keep you for another 2 hours because you live so far away. You may go into labor now, so let's just keep you here for a couple hours. It was successful. Ever since then, baby has stayed head down. As of week 40 on the dot at a -2, if you're looking to flip your baby over and they ask you if you want to do the epidural, well, my recommendation to you is go ahead and let them do it if you're okay with being medicated, because it's definitely gonna help. If you're like me and you really don't like intervention and you don't like putting things into your body, then be ready to employ some nitrous oxide if you have anxiety. Because if I had to wager, I would say that little bit of medication chilling things out for me, getting me back on track mentally. And I can't really say that the nitrous oxide made a huge difference pain-wise. Maybe it did. It didn't stand out, I'll say that. It just kind of felt more like it grounded me a little bit. Be ready to employ it, because after that second go, and I was crying, I was really thinking about calling it quits. It was just a big mental battle. All in all, my doctors in my opinion, were great. Couldn't have had a better team. They were so very positive the entire time. If I would scream out, "Come on, baby," the doctors would repeat, "Let's go, baby." They really tried to, like, I think, level with me and how difficult of what we were trying to get done was going to be. Having a support person that can take a little bit of beating is definitely recommended, because I would have felt bad squeezing on one of the nurses the way I was squeezing on my husband. Who, by the way, don't forget, like I said at the beginning of the video, we were there for a long time. And the entire time, my husband was rubbing my swollen feet and rubbing my shoulders and playing music and trying to keep me occupied and trying to do whatever he could do to keep my anxiety low and just keep me calm and make me feel comfortable. And he would go ask for another heated blanket. Like, he was my rock the whole time. If I needed to get up and use the bathroom, he was right there to help me. He stole the nurse's rolly chair so that he could sit as close as possible to me the entire time. When we took a nap, he just fell asleep in the rolly chair holding my hand while I slept on the hospital bed. Complications with pregnancy can be so hard to deal with. My final takeaway for you is one of the best ways that I cope with this kind of stuff is, I don't know if I'm allowed to say it on TikTok, but Epidural, that little orange robot app, if you know what I'm talking about. Going on there, finding mom communities, and just getting it all out there, or replying to people who have other experiences similar to yours. For me, it really helps with the coping. I know it sounds kind of dinky, and I thought it was for a long time, but utilizing chat rooms to just get it out there really has been a savior for me. So that would be my final takeaway for you. Automatic thoughts, feelings, worries, anxieties, triumphs out into the world and let it go. They feel what we feel. So if we can do something to make ourselves feel better, that's what's best. If I can do it, I really believe in you.